Working the graveyard shift at a gas station in the middle of nowhere was already unsettling enough. The place was old, the kind of rundown where the lights flickered unpredictably and the hum of the old fridge in the back room became a sort of sinister soundtrack to the dead of night. The owner of the station was a quiet man, never said much, but he made it clear from day one, when you hear the buzz at 2:15 a.m., close your eyes. Don't open them until it stops. Not for anything. It sounded like a weird prank, something to mess with the new guy, but the way he said it, dead serious, no trace of humor in his voice, gave me chills. I didn't question it, though. Not at first. For weeks, I followed the rule to the letter. At exactly 2:15 a.m., just as he said, a low buzzing would fill the station, not coming from any particular direction, more like it was resonating from the walls themselves. I'd shut my eyes tight, heart pounding in my chest, waiting for it to pass. It always did. The buzz would fade after what felt like hours but was probably only a few minutes, and I'd go back to whatever I was doing, trying to push down the lingering fear with mindless tasks. But one night, curiosity got the better of me. I'd been there long enough to feel like maybe it was all in my head, that maybe the buzzing was just an old electrical fault, and the rest was my imagination running wild. So when 2:15 a.m. rolled around, and the buzz began, I didn't close my eyes. Instead, I kept them wide open, determined to see what, if anything, happened. At first, nothing seemed different. The station looked the same flickering lights, the same rows of snacks and drinks. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw them, dark figures, barely more than shadows, slipping through the walls, moving in and out of the aisles. My breath caught in my throat. These things, whatever they were, weren't just shadows. They had form, a twisted, unnatural kind of shape, like they were half melted, as if something had gone horribly wrong in their making. They moved slowly at first, gliding across the floor without a sound, but soon they picked up speed. One of them turned toward me, and I swear I felt its gaze, though it had no eyes, nothing but a blank, dark void where a face should be. My whole body seized with fear, every instinct screaming at me to close my eyes, but I couldn't. I was frozen, unable to look away, watching as it moved closer, its form shifting and writhing like smoke caught in a breeze. And then it stopped, inches away from me. The buzz grew louder, more intense, as if it was coming from inside my own skull. I could feel the sound vibrating through me, making my teeth ache, my vision blur. The shadowy figure reached out, its arms stretching impossibly long, fingers like tendrils of darkness reaching for my face. That's when I finally managed to shut my eyes. The second I did, the buzzing stopped, and so did the movement. The air in the room went still, heavy with an unnatural silence. I stood there, trembling, for what felt like hours, too afraid to open my eyes, too afraid to move. When I finally gathered the courage to look, the station was empty again, the shadows gone, like they had never been there. But I knew better. I'd seen them. They were real, and they came at 2:15 a.m. for reasons I couldn't, and didn't want to, understand. I never broke the rule again. And to this day, whenever I hear a buzz, no matter where I am or what time it is, I close my eyes and pray it passes me by.
I've lived in this town my entire life. It's small, only about 6,000 people, and quiet. I've never had the urge to leave. I'm content here. The internet arrived about a decade ago, but most folks around here couldn't afford it, so it didn't change much. We're not backwoods or anything, we just like our simple lives. Mrs. Weller, for example, lives down the road. She's a widow known for taking in animals that need a second chance. With her land and know-how, she's become our unofficial vet. But something happened recently that made me realize not everything in this town is as normal as I thought. You see, when you've lived somewhere long enough, even the strangest things start to feel ordinary. Our town is isolated, surrounded by miles of farmland. The nearest town is a good 45-minute drive away. We've got the basics: a dollar store, a small grocery place, a gas station, and a post office. It's enough to get by, so why venture out? The internet is spotty at best, but every house has a radio. It's more than a habit here, it's a necessity. There's this weekly PSA that comes on, warning us about some kind of danger. We treat it like the weather, just another part of life. But a few nights ago, something changed. I was half asleep when the familiar alarm jolted me awake. My mom always told me to keep the radio on, even at night, and I never questioned it. The alarm blared, followed by a male announcer's voice, calm and steady. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a PSA for county residents. Mrs. Weller has informed local police that a horse has chewed through the fence and escaped. Please, if you see this animal, stay far away and call 911 to report your sighting. If you begin to hear voices or have thoughts that are not your own, turn away and run. If you begin to feel faint or nauseous while looking at the animal, turn away and run. If the animal makes eye contact with you or begins to walk in your direction, turn away and run. If you cannot see any horse-like animal but begin to feel a heavy pressure on your chest, enter your vehicle or run home as quickly as possible. If you are inside your home at this moment, remain there until an update has been broadcasted notifying the capture of this animal. Lastly, remember that horses do not speak. The announcement should have been unsettling, but I was too tired to care. I made a mental note to listen for the all clear and drifted back to sleep, a dull ache in my chest. The next morning, as I sat at the kitchen table, the words from the PSA started creeping back into my mind. It gnawed at me. Of course, horses don't speak. Everyone knows that. But the more I thought about it, the stranger it seemed. This town's always been weird, but now I was seeing it differently. Why was everyone so calm about something so bizarre? I decided to head to the gas station for breakfast, hoping to shake off the feeling. I got into my old truck and started driving, the morning still dark and the air heavy with humidity. The radio was quiet, but my mind wasn't. I kept replaying the announcement, each word feeling heavier. Suddenly, it hit me, there hadn't been any follow-up saying the horse was found. Panic flared as I turned the truck around, the cold sweat trickling down my back. As I rounded a bend, my headlights caught something in the field ahead. My heart stopped. It wasn't just a horse. This thing was wrong. Its neck was grotesquely elongated, flesh hanging in strips, and its mane was a tangled mess. It towered over 7 feet tall, and its eyes, those eyes, glowed faintly in the dark, locking onto me. I slammed the gas, the truck lurching forward. But it wasn't fast enough. The creature leapt into the bed, the whole truck shuddering as its hooves pounded the roof. My head swam with voices, sinister whispers urging me to crash, to give in. The pressure in my chest was suffocating, like something was crushing me from the inside out. Desperation took over as I raced toward Mrs. Weller's farm. The creature's rotting breath was so close I could feel it on my neck. Just as I skidded into her driveway, the weight suddenly lifted. The creature was gone, disappearing into the darkness as quickly as it had appeared. I was shaking, barely holding it together when the radio crackled back to life. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Weller's horse has been returned to her property. It is now safe to leave your homes. We hope you have a good day. God bless. A soft knock on the window made me jump. It was Mrs. Weller, smiling like everything was perfectly normal, holding out a steaming cup of coffee. I took it, my hands trembling. This town might be strange, horrifying even, but it's home. And no matter how weird things get, I know my neighbors will always be there. I drove back down the road, the sun finally breaking through the horizon, and for the first time, I felt like I was seeing my simple life